Hello everyone, how are you doing? Welcome to another Piesta's book reviews. Today I'm going to do something slightly different. I'm still just reviewing the books that I've been reading. I've been reading this book. It's a parenting book, so trying to help you understand how to relate a bit better to your child, how to understand a bit better what's going on, and nurture their mind. It's called O Cérebro da Criança, Portuguese. The original English title is The Whole Brain Child, 12 Revolu- 12 revolutionary strategies in nurture to nurture your child's developing mind. Okay, so the book is written by two psychotherapists, people are related to psychotherapy and also related to kids. They had kids of their own. They realized that there are some things that were not really well done, so they decided to get more involved and write some books about it. There have been some advances in neuroscience that kind of justify the background for this book. If you know what mindfulness is, it is quite focused on this book, which is not directly related to parenting guide in itself, but it's something that if you follow the spirit of mindfulness, you can understand yourself better, and for understanding yourself better, you can also understand your child better. So if you apply mindfulness to the child as well, they will also have a better understanding of themselves and thus have a much better life. Anyways, summarizing the book, overall, I didn't really like the way the book was written. I felt it was too long, got a bit boring. I had to skip some parts. Overall, the main points are important though, and I think the reasoning is solid. I think the examples are good. Just the way it was written, for me it was extremely boring. Mostly what it means is that they describe the way that the brain works and how you should try to have a more global brain connected. Like, should proactively go out of your way to try to make sure that your kid has like the left brain properly connected with the right brain, and he makes good use of both, and also the lower brain connected to the higher brain. So if you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, a little resume. So the left and the right brain are used for different kind of things. One is more logical, the other one is more artistic and emotional. And you need to have like a bridge of both, or a strong bridge between both of those sides to be like a more, what you call, a balanced person. Some people develop one of their brain sides a bit more and they have some troubles dealing with the other side. Like, they can only understand emotions, they can't really understand logic, or they can only understand hard logic and they have a hard time dealing with emotions or visual stuff or things like that. They're like a lot more methodical. So a lot of research on this thing. It's also related somewhat to autism and other kind of diseases that help figure out these parts of the brain and how they work. Anyways, the bottom line is that you should be more empathetic to your child, appeal to their emotional well, it's a bit of a both. Depending on which one they are using, you should try to appeal to the use of the other one. So you should connect to your child empathically, try to understand why they're having the fit or the problem that they are having, try to get to the bottom of it, and then try to diverge their attention into the other side so that they can like connect both sides and like show reason when they are being too emotional and have some emotion when they are being too logically focused on something. So that's one of the topics that is mentioned on the book. The other one is connecting your lower brain to your higher brain. The lower brain is mostly consisted by the amygdala and a few other regions there, and it's mostly what has your primal reactions. Apologies for the cat that just decided to randomly meow. It has like your fight or flight response, like your fears, things like that. It's controlled by the lower part of the brain, and the higher part of the brain is more where your brain processes all the information and it has a more adequate response to things, actually processes the inputs. So there's a good natural reason why we have these two distinctions on the brain. The first one makes sure that you stay alive of something. Like, if you're in a high place, you get scared because you're in a high place and it could be deadly for you. People who don't have that fear, they usually died and didn't procreate. So therefore, people with more fear of things that will actually kill you have a tendency to survive in the world. Makes sense, is useful, but since we are reasonable or rational creatures, we should also be able to connect both of those sides of the brain and have a more deeper analysis of what we are actually dealing with, which little kids don't really know how to deal with because their brains are still developing. They don't have the higher brain that well matured. It goes all the way until they are like 18 or 20. The brain is still maturing. The top of their brain is still growing and doing more connections. And if it's not properly connected with the lower brain, they will have a hard time distinguishing between both parts. So this the book says a few good examples on how these things happen and how you can reorient your kid to learn not to be afraid of things or proper response to things, and tries to level and give some tips on how to connect both brains and explain to your kid that they do have both brains and they can switch on the higher part of your brain instead of just dealing with a fight or response all the time. Other things in the book that are also worth mentioning is the connection between knowing yourself a bit better, and for that's where the mindfulness starts to come into play. There's something called the Mindsight that one of the authors here kind of works on, as far as I know, or kind of develops or is interested in, something like that, which is pretty much trying to like a wheel where you focus yourself in the middle, and around the wheel you have all the things that you can think of and feel and imagine and look at. So when you write them all around and you see that you are completely only focused on one specific thing, like having an anxiety over something, you know that that's only a part of the thing that you can be thinking, and you can drag yourself back into the center of the circle and explore all the other stuff. It's like you're not discarding that thing, but you don't have to keep it like controlling your life all the time. It's good to have like a certain distancing from obsessing into something in particular. Another part that the book covers is also integrating memory, like long-term memory. Sometimes when something bad happens, we tend to just don't think about it, don't pay attention to it, forget all about it, but your brain still has those kind of connections, the implicit connections that your brain established over that experience, and that will resonate with other things. Like some people hate eating tomatoes because parents force them to eat tomatoes. Please don't meow into the microphone while I'm recording, if you please, Mr. Cat. Okay, I think we have established a dialogue here. So yeah, it's important to go through your memories and properly integrate them. Don't just dismiss them away. A good way to do that is telling stories or reliving the experience, rethinking the experience through. If it's traumatic experience, that can be some problems with that. Kids might be reluctant to do those kind of things. But there are some techniques that the book explains on how you can safely do that without frustrating the kid or pushing them into something that they're not willing to do. You can safely help them along the process of going through your memories and make sure that they are being integrated so that you are no longer randomly afraid of something that you can't really explain why, because there was this episode that happened 5 years ago where you got a problem with that. That particular part did make some sense to me. For example, at some point I didn't like swimming anymore, because there was this incident when I was in swimming class where this kid basically was drowning me by he was pushing the rope down, and I was using the whole rope to hang myself, and I was to hold myself, and I was in the deep zone. And for some reason I was not swimming very well at that particular time. I confused myself or something, and I was trying to hang on to the rope to keep myself afloat, and the kid was stupidly pushing the rope down, and I nearly drowned. And from that point on, did not want to go to any classes of things like that. And it took me a few years until I was comfortable again with water and not afraid of, random stupid kid drowning me. So I can understand how that makes sense in exploring for grown-ups and for kids as well. I think it's practical for both, for all ages, to like go through the things that happened, and instead of dismissing them and locking them away, actually try to assimilate them. And what did you learn from it? What are the key things to take away? And it can be helpful and therapeutical and help integrate the brain and separate the trauma from the takeaway from that thing, so you don't just dismiss something. And this is like a basis for a lot of people who are resentful of life. They have like some hidden thing, like they hate their father, and they, instead of dealing with it and thinking it through and going through and taking steps into resolving that, they just push it away on the back of their minds, and it's eating at them the whole life. So I think that's something that can easily be explained to other people, the importance of going through your memory, and the book does a good job in that aspect of why you should integrate your memory into things to have a more healthy life in general. Then there's also some tips on integrating myself with the others. Make sure your kid is more social and given, not have anything about, not be everything about him or her. Which is important for kids because babies tend to grow up being all about them. That's just how they are. They need that to survive. And as they grow old, we parents need to show them by example and also by words that, it's okay to share. It's fine. You'll feel better sometimes if you share your cake with other people. You are not going to eat all the cake. You might as well give it to other people, and they will like it, and they will like you because of that. And it's a positive thing. To share or be mindful of what other people will think of your actions, and it's important to also integrate that with the kid as he's growing up. And they have some interesting techniques here on the book as well on how to do that. That being said, as I mentioned in the beginning, the book is quite tedious. The best takeaway of the book is the summary in the end. You didn't need almost 200 pages to explain all of these things. You could have easily have done it in like 100 pages and have the summary at the end, and it would be a much better book, easier, faster to read, still understandable. So I don't know. I think they got caught up a little bit too much into explaining the whole neuroscience part of things. I understand the reason why they why explained it, but they repeated themselves too much. Like 3, 4, 5 paragraphs saying exactly the same thing. It just got too boring. At least for me, I don't know. Maybe for some other people it was a lot more interesting. Maybe something got lost in the translation to Portuguese. I don't know. Some of the situations, another pointer that I didn't really appreciate, a lot of the situations were very based on American culture of raising your kids, which didn't translate very well, at least to modern European culture. Small things like it's normal to tell your kids to just shut up and go to your room, things like that, which in modern Europe is not so acceptable. But this is a culture thing, and I get it. They're telling their history, so that's how they live. Those are the examples they have. They don't have any. They shouldn't be considering other cultures when they were writing the book. I understand that. Just for me, it would make a lot more sense to have something that is actually focused on Portuguese culture when I'm raising a kid in Portugal. So in that way, the book wasn't as interesting as it could be. But it's I guess it's also interesting to see the perspective from the American side, but it doesn't really translate completely to the Portuguese culture and what our kid will have to deal with other parents that are more stupid than the average person that is, raising a kid. Anyways, book is still okay, especially the last pages where you have like the summary of all the key elements, how the tricks on how you do that. The examples are pretty decent. I didn't like the layout of the stories. Like they start with this big story and then they don't tell you how it unrolls, and they explain the whole neuroscientist thing, and then they give you other examples that don't have anything to do with the first example that is still pending. And after 2 or 3 of those, they finally go back to the first one, but they don't really explain very well how to solve it. That happened in a few of the chapters. I was like, why did they even put the first example in? Why didn't they just, technical explanation first? Now let's go down to examples, and that will be that. What kind of... I guess this might be like an editor kind of thing. We need a way to hook someone up, so we have like a cliffhanger in the beginning that will make you read the whole thing. Doesn't work like that. You just get bored and feel stupid. So, anyways, that's why I'm only giving this book 2 stars out of 5. But overall, I think the book really is resourceful, especially for the last pages, as I mentioned. We'll definitely keep it here on the library, and we'll go back and pick it up again once the kid is a little older, so I know how to approach things, or remind myself how to approach things when he's in another age step. So, yeah, do recommend the book. Don't really recommend it reading that much. Does this make any sense? Skip some things and go directly to the important stuff? I don't know. That was my experience with the book. Anyways, let me know what you think on the comments below. If you care, if you don't care. Thank you for watching the video. If you like this video and would like me to keep doing more of these kind, please check out my Patreon, patreon.com/psenough, where you can support me for doing content on the internet for you to watch and enjoy and get some information from. Anyways, that's it for me. See you next time. Bye bye everyone. Take care.